and Donald Trump cancelled a planned trip by US officials to Pakistan for talks on the Iran war on Saturday, shortly after Tehran's delegation had left Islamabad. The US president said Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner would be wasting too much time, adding that if Iran wanted to talk, all they have to do is and at least 7 people were killed and 20 were wounded following a suspected explosive attack in the southwestern province of Cauca, Colombia, according to regional authorities. Governor Octavio Guzman said that an explosive was detonated on the Pan American Highway in the El Tunal sector of Quijibio on Saturday. He condemned what he called an indiscriminate attack against the civilian population.
In a recent experiment, Anthropic created a classified marketplace where AI agents represented both buyers and sellers, striking real deals for real goods and real money. The company admitted this test, which it called Project Deal, was only a pilot experiment with a self-selected participant pool of 69 Anthropic employees who were given a budget of $100 paid out via gift cards to buy stuff from their co-workers. Scientists have discovered dinosaur footprints along South Africa's coastline, offering new evidence that dinosaurs continued to live in southern Africa long after massive volcanic eruptions reshaped the region around 182 million years ago. Southern Africa is known for its rich fossil history, particularly in the Karoo Basin. However, after widespread lava flows covered much of the basin, the fossil record becomes noticeably quiet during the Jurassic period. The new discovery is helping to fill this long-standing gap.
And a new global ranking has revealed the world's richest countries for 2026. But this time, the list is not based only on GDP. According to travel insurance comparison site HelloSafe, its prosperity index combines GDP and GNI with quality of life indicators such as income equality, poverty rates, and the Human Development Index, HDI. And the flash mob descended on Brisbane City Square wearing double denim and blonde wigs in the style of a legendary Australian singer as they danced with wild abandon to one of his 1980s hits. In an unlikely pairing, pro-Palestinian protesters have adopted John Farnham's song Two Strong Hearts as an unofficial anthem because its lyrics bear a coincidental resemblance to a political slogan recently banned by the state government in northeastern Australia.
Tehran, Iran's authorities and state media project that they are less interested than before the war in negotiations with the United States if they go beyond their accepted terms, as mediated talks failed to materialize in Pakistan. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi met senior Pakistani officials in Islamabad on Saturday and left for Oman to be later bound for Russia. The top diplomat, who was not joined by Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf like in a previous round of negotiations earlier this month, said he was yet to see if the US is truly serious about diplomacy.
A United States federal court has blocked the administration of United States President Donald Trump from deporting a woman and her 5 children following their release from immigration detention. Hayam El-Gamal and her 5 children, ranging in age from 5 to 18 years old, had been held for 10 months prior to their release earlier this week following a judge's order. They had been held in detention for the longest of any known family during Trump's second term in office.
And divisions are widening within NATO. US President Donald Trump is furious after a refusal by European member states to join the US-Israeli war on Iran.
Maine Governor Janet Mills has vetoed a bill that would have temporarily brought permits for new data centres to a halt. If it had become law, LD 307 would have imposed the country's first statewide moratorium on new data centres, lasting in this case until November 1, 2027. The bill also called for the creation of a 13-person council to study and make recommendations on data centre construction.
And Hungary's outgoing Prime Minister Viktor Orban has said he will not take up his seat in Parliament after his party was defeated in a landslide that ended his 16-year rule. I am now needed not in Parliament, but in the reorganisation of the patriotic movement, he said in a video statement released on social media on Saturday evening.
Arsenal returned to the top of the Premier League as Eberechi Eze's Thunderbolt sealed a tense 1-0 win against Newcastle. For the first time since October, Arsenal had started a league game out of pole position after Manchester City's 1-0 win at Burnley on Wednesday sent them to the summit. United States President Donald Trump has announced that his envoys would not be traveling to Pakistan for talks with Iranian officials after Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi left the country. The US president told news outlet Fox News that he had ordered Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to ditch plans to visit the Pakistani capital Islamabad for the possible talks, despite his earlier claims that Iran was making an offer aimed at resolving the two-month conflict. Hours after an Iranian delegation departed Islamabad, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on Saturday spoke with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and said that Pakistan was committed to serving as an honest and sincere facilitator. In a post on the social media platform X, PM Shehbaz said that he had a warm and constructive call with the Iranian president on the evolving regional situation. The Mexican government says 2 US agents who died last weekend in a car crash had not been authorized to operate in the country. The officials, who reportedly worked for the CIA, had taken part in a raid on suspected drug labs in the northern state of Chihuahua before their vehicle skidded off a mountain road and exploded.
And human rights groups in Venezuela have criticized interim President Delcy Rodriguez for saying a scheme to release political prisoners was coming to an end. Having been in place for just 9 weeks, nearly 500 political prisoners have been released under the amnesty law brought in by the country's National Assembly. Prisoner rights group Foro Penal says, but many more are thought to still be in jail.
Gaza held its first elections in more than 20 years on Saturday, but only in one city for a small fraction of the shattered territory's population, amid a stalled process to advance the US-brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The elections took place in the city of Deir al-Balah in central Gaza, one of the areas that suffered the least destruction during nearly 2 years of Israeli bombardment of the enclave. Held under the auspices of the Palestinian Authority, the municipal elections also took place in the occupied West Bank, amid perceived widespread disillusionment with the ruling Fatah party. Deir el-Balah, Gaza, early this morning, Salama Badwan, his wife and daughter, headed to a polling station in Deir el-Balah, central Gaza, to participate in the municipal elections, which are taking place for the first time since 2006. The 43-year-old said he was delighted to be casting a vote after such a long absence and overjoyed that his daughter, who recently turned 18, could vote for the first time in her life.
And the Mexican government has said 2 federal agents from the United States killed in a car crash in connection with an anti-narcotics raid, widely reported to be CIA officers, were not authorized to operate on Mexican territory. Mexico's security cabinet said in a statement on Saturday that one of the US citizens had entered the country as a visitor and the other on a diplomatic passport. And in a letter to the residents of Tumbler Ridge, Canada, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said he is deeply sorry that his company failed to alert law enforcement about the suspect in a recent mass shooting. And after police identified 18-year-old Jesse Van Rootselaar as a suspected shooter who allegedly killed 8 people, and the Wall Street Journal reported that OpenAI had flagged and banned Van Rootselaar's ChatGPT account in June 2025 for describing scenarios involving gun violence. And the company staff debated alerting police, but ultimately decided against it, eventually reaching out to Canadian authorities after the shooting.
That Islamabad. The capital administration on Saturday night allowed all types of public and goods transport to enter the city, while also revising business timings. The administration said all bus stands across the city were operational, except Faizabad. It said that the Faizabad bus terminal would remain closed until further notice.
And 31 sloths planned for a new slothnarium in Florida died before the attraction's planned opening, authorities have found. The mammals were planned to be showcased at a permanent public exhibit at Sloth World in Orlando, set to open this spring. And the United States has agreed to ease certain sanctions on Venezuela in order to allow the country's government to cover the legal fees for ex-President Nicolas Maduro, and who is on federal trial in New York City for drug trafficking charges after being abducted by US forces in January. Maduro's lawyer, Barry Pollock, and had asked the Manhattan-based US District Judge Alvin Hellerstein to toss out the case in February, and arguing that a prohibition on the government in Caracas paying the legal fees constituted a violation of Maduro's legal right to the counsel of his choice. And climate tech startups are capital intensive, timelines are long, and the technology is often considered first of its kind. What's more, a key value proposition is addressing pollution, an externality that is, at best, poorly priced by the market. Those aren't the quality stock pickers tend to favour, and yet public markets appear to be warming to climate tech startups, or at least some of them. And Samsung could be preparing to reintroduce glasses-free 3D displays through a new technology that may appear first on future Galaxy smartphones, including a possible Galaxy S28 Ultra. The company has been developing a new display approach in partnership with POSE-SEL, according to research recently published in Nature. And a planned US delegation visit to Pakistan has been cancelled after Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi left Islamabad without holding a second round of the Islamabad peace talks with American officials. Araghchi had spent the day in Islamabad holding high-level meetings with Pakistani leaders, but Iran maintained that it was not seeking direct negotiations with the United States. Less than 24 hours earlier, Tehran had also publicly denied requesting face-to-face talks.
That. Karachi. For the second consecutive day, rescue workers on Saturday carried out a search operation to recover an 11-year-old boy feared to have drowned after being swept away while swimming in a major waterline in Scheme 33. The boy, Zahid Mohammed Khan, was swept away around 2 p.m. on Friday while swimming in the Karachi Water and Sewerage Corporation, KWSC's line in Scheme 33 near Al-Azhar Garden.
And the Lahore Electric Supply Company, LESCO, has announced scheduled power outages in multiple areas on April 26 due to maintenance and repair work on electricity lines. According to the notice, and power supply will remain suspended from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. in areas linked to Safra's grid feeders, including Yusuf Chakwal, Ijaz Textile, Unilever, Abu Bakr, Ghani Gaz, Safraz, Yaqub, Arc, Nishat Chunian, Shah Taj, and Mezen Beverage, Medigas, KRK, Golden Textile, Ravi Imran, and adjoining localities. And Samsung could be preparing to reintroduce glasses-free 3D displays through a new technology that may appear first stop on future Galaxy smartphones, including a possible Galaxy S28 Ultra. The company has been developing a new display approach in partnership with POSE-SEL, according to research recently published in Nature.